Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Legends and Lore Season 3, Episode 6. I'm late. I'm sorry for the bit late start. We got so distracted. We started reading things, and all of a sudden that half hour got disappeared in no time. So with me as usual is
Mike Bridges. How you doing, guys? No, the show was not canceled.
no, exactly. It's not canceled. It's just we screwed up for 2 minutes. We got so carried away. We were talking about what we are going to talk about, and I started reading a book, and all of a sudden it was 8 o'clock or 5 o'clock
Well, we already
Pacific.
got some people in the chat. Hey, for Hollow, I don't know if I've seen you before. Hi,
No,
Nebbiolo. Hey, Bavix. Hey, Grimmelwolf.
yep, yep, awesome. Welcome. Thank you so much. Because this episode, I think we need more. We really rely on participation, like we've had the
On your
past couple.
thinking cap, guys.
Exactly, more than because we want to ask you some questions and we want to see test different ideas and to see what going to how you like it, so to speak. So it's going to be a little bit of mix and match things this episode. We were supposed to have Maldin or Dennis Tetro
Yeah,
on,
we
but
got ahead of ourselves.
yeah, exactly. But we got a few hiccups, so that didn't fall through this week. So unfortunately, so that didn't happen. So first, how are you doing? Any have you up to anything special?
Oh, just running game twice a week. I'm
Mm-hmm.
running.
Yeah.
I'm on my second session of Ghost of Salt Marsh and my uh, first session of running the 5E White Plume Mountain.
Cool. That's awesome. And speaking of it, now I'm actually. Um,
AJ, Gary's here.
oh, awesome.
Bravo
Hi,
here.
Gary. Perfect. Yeah. There we go. Yep. So that's awesome. I haven't actually gamed now in a couple of
You know?
weeks, so I've been real bad that way. But on the other hand, it's only 2 weeks to Gen Con, so it's kind of
Oh yeah.
yeah. So that is kind of the I'm trying to get everything wrapped
Uh,
up. That
I don't know. Hopefully they'll find you, but Eric and Shannon from
oh,
Gamers Table
they are going to be there.
is here.
Oh,
I think
awesome.
only for one day. I think only on
Okay,
Saturday.
okay, that will
Hopefully
be
they stop by
awesome.
your booth or
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah. If that, I'm
Okay.
I'm going to send them like a Facebook message or something on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday morning and see. But that oh that's good. That will be
Yeah.
some representation from your gang at
Yeah.
Gen Con. So yeah. So I've been doing some things this week, and the big thing that I end up I've done the first revision of the Salt Marsh area. So
Great
I
job.
yeah to switch kind of moved it over and let's take a little peek here. It's the wrong. I'm going to move the right window over here so we get the going to move Photoshop over here. So here is the new updated salt marsh. So I've rewritten the coast
Oh
or
yeah.
redrawn the coast. So I actually moved the east
Mhm.
coast. I
Brought
moved,
that
yeah, exactly. I brought
forest.
that over more towards the east. So I made that wider just
Yeah,
because they had kind of,
like
yeah, the map they used, they kind of cut things off and then disregard the rest. So I just have to make sure that Split Rock got its place. So I widened this area a little bit, and then I took the map they had from Ghost March and I just tilted it about 5 degrees because then it matched my coastline fairly well to begin with, and I don't think 5 degrees mattered that much in a fantasy world. So and then I matched the coastline and drew it in. So I put in Abbey Isle and I put in the river, the Kingfisher River, and the Dunwater here just as it is there. You have the Lizard Fork layer, and I added Bale Keep here. I moved it to between the Sahagan and the Lizard Fork because it's one of these things that appear. It's not mentioned in Salt Marsh or any of the earlier stuff. It was a Living Greyhawk campaign thing, and I think what they did was that they added there are a whole series of these various beacon that Bolton's beacon is one of them. These fortification
yeah.
keep a whole range of them from Sarister's Tower, Parphrase Keep here that Kaeland built along its southern frontier. And since so a Living Greyhawk, they took the ideas from Bolton Beacon and a few of the other ones and went with it, and then
Just
they created Ball,
spot
yeah, the Bale Keep as the end of it, so to speak.
Real quick,
Yeah.
for Hollow's new here, I believe, and wants to know what your map software is. The
Oh,
short
okay,
answer.
yeah. This is a I did started this map on 30 years ago. So this one is the terrain is originally created in a program called Bryce. It's a very primitive 3D terrain software
Tell you.
that you can still get. You can almost get it for free
Oh,
these days. It's
can
like
get it.
20. Yeah, you can still get the
But
latest version.
now,
Like, oh yeah, yeah, you can get it right now from DAS.
but now you use
Oh yeah, now I use World Machine, View,
function.
and a whole bunch of Gaia and a whole
It's just a
new.
big old mishmash
Exactly, yeah. So I use several tools that are way
for
more,
whatever you're trying to accomplish.
yeah, probably 100 times more advanced than this the map for this one. And then I edit it in Photoshop, and then I put the symbols in using Illustrator. So that's the process for this. So
That's a
it's
lot of jumping around. See,
yeah.
that's why I can't do what you do because I like to use one program for everything.
Yeah. For me, it's like you need a little tool for creating
Yeah,
textures, and you do this and that, and yeah. So it's kind of really, yeah. It's a mishmash of things. So the goal here was to kind of squeeze everything in, and one of the things that is kind of difficult here is that the scale here is so large that it's almost like the haunted house couldn't be there. But I have a Thorpe symbol that is basically just one or two little houses, and so the haunted house became that. I usually want to avoid labels like haunted house and stuff. I want to have a place name, just like small village or tiny little house. These things, you always try to find the name of the place rather than just the large oak or something like that. But in this case, it's known as the
in
haunted
the
house
house.
in the
Yeah.
module, so I just have to go with it. So yeah. And then you have the Tower of Sinupus, the little ruin keep that is there, and then I have Brimstone Keep. Uh, that is another one I think that is from a Living Greyhawk campaign.
Yeah, I
That
was gonna say
yeah,
that's not in the current release.
exactly. That was there, and I kept it there. So I didn't, and it was simply I just moved them a little bit, so I got the labels in there. So, and then I redid the roads a little bit so they match. So there's one road going down towards Red Shore, which is interesting. Red Shore is not mentioned. Seaton is the big thing, and then all of a sudden in Living Greyhawk they invented a city out here. But on the other hand, to me it makes sense to have the city on a small island because it's way more defensible, and then to have it in some. So there are some
Not hurting anything, I
yeah.
suppose.
So yeah. So it's kind of a, I guess just like Moonmerg here, it's kind of a strategic location out there. So
Yeah.
yeah. And one of the other interesting things in Ghost of
Um,
Saltmarsh, they don't have the big river, the Yavan River that comes out in the ocean. That one is not even mentioned. The map just continues, and then they cut it off. So that should have been there. So the map in that is in the Ghost of Saltmarsh in the book basically covers roughly this area. This much is
hmm.
what it covers. But so that this river is here, and I didn't make a name because it's just a small little delta thing
True. Yeah.
Javan. But the Javan River should have been there, but it's not there. So but anyhow, and then I got so now they're named right. It's the Dunwater, the Kingfisher, and here is a Janus Stream River that I don't think is named in the Ghost of Saltmarsh, but it's named in Living Greyhawk.
Boy,
So
it's fun justifying all those different
yeah,
sources, isn't
yep,
it?
I have to mix and match, but it usually works fairly well. And then you have there are two new named forests, the Silver Stand and the Drowned Forest.
I'm actually excited about using these little forests, woods, whatever they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we have the Dreadwoods that have an extension that goes all the way
Kind of
down here.
grew out of
Yeah,
control.
exactly. It's kind of,
Trying to
yeah,
get back
it's
to work.
it's that kind of feature creep. It's mentioned in the text, so they kind of paint it in at the edges, no matter what the
But
distance
you
is.
know, I don't blame them for adding the Dreadwood in there because that just anchors it
Yeah.
more
Mm-hmm.
to
Yep.
Q land
Oh
and
yeah. So
the other
it's
stuff.
yeah, I don't mind it either. So I made it. It's kind of now. I should probably fill in some of the patches up here too. So, and the drowned forest is kind of cool. I envision that as it's just an extension of the marshland here that goes in. So it's like a mangrove kind of environment, I guess, something like that. So that's
Yeah,
the my update. So this will be,
looks good.
yeah. So now this is was I made one version, and then I made a second version, and the second version seems to be the one we're going with. So there will be a 2018 or 2019 revision 1 coming out, but I'm not sure I will have time, at least not initially, to update all the different maps. So
Well, I ain't waiting. I already screenshotted what you just showed,
oh
so
yeah, yeah. It
I
will.
can
It's
use it.
already on the
Oh,
Facebook group and it's on my
okay.
website. You can download the image I'm using. So
Okay.
yeah. So
Well,
it's
there
yeah,
you go.
yep. So it's available for free now. So you can go to ghmaps.net or annabmeyer.com, and it should be the first blog post at the top, and you can just grab the image from there, the one I'm using
New
here. So
content.
yep. So it's new. So that's the big thing that I've wrapped that up. And one other thing that I changed from I got some good input. I took away the sea lane between the Keelland side and the Scarlet Brotherhood side. So now you can't easily find a transport between the two. So you have to kind of
Oh, really?
elicit and pay more money and whatnot to get it, which I think makes sense. Yep, the Beltran's Beacon is on the map, but you have to hang on a second. You have to go further.
West?
It's yeah, further west. Up here it's Bolton's Beacon, so it's up here.
Yep, there it is, right in the
Yep.
mess.
Yep.
Of
So
all
it's
that.
the mess of the tributaries. This is such a marshy kind of. It's a mini Amazonas here in with all the, because you have two major rivers. You have the gigantic Javan that is actually one of the biggest rivers. The Velverdiva and the Javan are some of the very biggest rivers you can imagine, because Javan drains the big Crystal Mist Mountains. It's a big river coming from these big mountains. So I expect it to be huge. It's one of the, it's in Velverdiva and Javan, and then you have the Nesser and the Salintan, or the Nesser is the natural, in my opinion, natural outlet of the Nurdiv. So Javan, Velverdiva, and Nesser are the biggest rivers that are huge, probably a mile across or something like that down here. And then you have Hool, that is a much smaller river, but on the other hand, this is lowland, so it's kind of, this probably high tides, you probably get some seawater and stuff. So this is kind of one of these brine, kind of
Ah,
brackish,
salty,
yeah, kind
yeah.
of salty, fresh, depending on what the tides are and stuff like that. So I envision a lot of mangroves and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's also subtropical almost, so it's warm. It's like Mediterranean subtropical deserty kind of heat, so it's probably yeah. Well,
Great.
navigable, yeah, that's a
Uh,
great question, and something we should say for analyze in a whole episode, because one of these super cool.
and
And when you take hang on a second, I'm going to switch software, or switch map view. So I'm going to go to this one, and unfortunately we get the old coastline here, but now we can at least follow the rivers. So you have the Javan here, and now we can compare it. This is what the coastline looked like in the before. It was a little bit more feature rich, but less things on it. So, but you have Javan from here going old. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and then it goes up here, and it's definitely navigable all the way up here, and I would imagine that it's navigable maybe somewhere up, yeah, from here or down, because it's so huge with so many big tributaries. So I'm sure it will have evened out all the big falls and stuff like that. It's probably been so powerful over millennia that it simply cut its way through, and so it kind of even. You might have some harder streams at times when it flows faster and is more narrow, but it probably doesn't have any falls. And navigable, it's also what kind of boat you can use, but it's also in a fantasy world, meaning there's a few dragons and stuff living at the end, so it might be navigable from a technical perspective, but you might not want to go there even if it's quiet and calm. So actually I think the river might be safer upstream than it is down here at the end, because there are a couple of dragon lairs, and there are these a lot of lizard folks and sahagins and all sorts of nasties living down here. So it might not be that navigable down here, and how is it? Do sturgeons live where mosquitoes live? Because they can kind of suck you dry, so that might
Yeah,
be
they're
nasty
also
too.
subterranean, so
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what they're like on the surface.
Yeah, Port Torvin, New Orleans. That's interesting. Yeah, Port Torvin is one of these things
Huh.
that was added in Living Greyhawk, I think.
I've used Port Corvin in my campaigns.
Yeah. So and then you have Westkeep. That was the Keolandish kind of try foray across the Javan to establish and now them being surrounded by Scarlet Brotherhood, and that's their only holdout on the southern shore, so to speak. Yeah. So it's Javan is definitely one because and you have here Rushmores and you can see Javan is fed by you have up here it's fed by this river here, so you have this the barrier peaks, large part of the crystal mists are all feeding the Javan, so it will be like think about Ganges or some of the big rivers coming out of the Himalayas, like the
Hmm.
Brahmaputra and the Ganges and some of the biggest rivers in Asia. That's the caliber of this river because the Yatil and the crystal mist the crystal mist and the barrier peaks are in the class of the Himalayas almost in height definitely, but
Right.
in width and spans.
Pushing water.
Yeah, so there should be a hell of a lot of water coming down there. Yep.
Well, yeah, Gary, I was gonna say, is it Mississippi? Big. Mississippi's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
big. It doesn't
Mississippi's.
have a
I think.
mountain
Yeah, I think Mississippi is the third
source,
biggest river in the world. I think.
but
I think it's the
it's a
Amazon, the
mountain.
Nile, the Mississippi, and then I
Yeah.
think it's the Volga is the fourth or something like that. That are in the BBC made a wonderful TV series of three rivers, and they had the Amazon, the Nile, and the Mississippi. Wonderful. If you're interested in like I'm landscaping and how the hydronomics work and how landscape works and rivers, it's a fabulous, fantastic TV series.
Well,
Earth,
as someone
yeah.
who lives on the Mississippi, I don't know what's fascinating about it, but okay.
Oh yeah, but it as a river because they took it from the very small little sources up in Yellowstone and up in various mountains, and then how it sips down and then forms this, and then how it floods over its every spring. It kind of yeah overflows
It's
and all the
crazy.
big wetlands and the life and so on, and it drains half a continent. So it's
Hmm.
huge. And I think it's the
Sure.
third biggest river on the planet if I remember correctly. I think Amazon is the biggest, Nile is the second biggest.
Well, when you throw in the Missouri River and
Yeah,
the Ohio,
exactly.
it's
Yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
a lot.
Yep. So
Uh,
on this continent, now we're into rivers. Let's check a little bit. We have some of
hmm.
the biggest one, the biggest river system here. I think it's from Lake Quag. You have a couple of rivers, and then you have the mighty Velverdiva going through here and down to the Nerdiv, and then Nerdiv. And this is my invention, but there's two outlets. You have the Nesser River here in the east, and that drains into the Nat Marsh and then
Sure.
disappears out here. And then you have the Salintan. But when I look at the map, it looks very much like this is the natural outlet, and this one I envision that this little bit here is dug, so to speak, because
Oh,
it doesn't look natural to me. So in my campaign, I simply said this is an invention that they when someone built a city here, meaning this part from here or down is natural, but then they simply dug a whole a canal through here and used like magic and blasted.
um, I could believe it. There's
Yeah,
gnomes in that area.
yeah, because naturally a lake doesn't have two outlets. That one will be the over time they will one will cancel the other out. That's
Uber wizards and
yeah.
things. Yeah,
So
yeah, it's
so so
possible.
I yeah so I simply assume for kind of keeping with physics a little bit that one is created as an artificial to because it was a smart way to so the Great Kingdom kind of realized that way they can dominate it.
Had to
Yeah,
explain it.
because
That's
this one is bad for travel. This river would have been perfect if it weren't for this huge marshy area to have to navigate through the that's like going through a mini Amazonas, so to speak. So the Nesser, and then you have the Duntide, another huge river, and these two together. So the Nesser, Nurdiv, and Velvodiva is probably the biggest, the equivalent of Mississippi or on the American in North America because it drains a huge area here. So and then you have the other one that goes from here. You have the Veng that goes here. It's a short one, but it's a
Right.
lot of water that goes from one to the other big lake. So it's huge. So when I refine this, I'm actually going. I think Nesser here will be the widest river of them all. It will be huge.
I
And
don't know if there is any natural riverways that connect two bodies of water. I mean, like the Panama Canal.
well, yeah, that
Um,
one is
there connect
yeah, and you have the Suez Canal. In the real world, you have a bunch
they're
of yeah of
natural.
man-made kind of
Yeah,
canals that way. So
yeah.
yes, Suez. You have many of them, and you have plenty in Europe. England is full of them, and that have Germany has a bunch of canals and stuff that way too that you connect one. And they were made in the medieval times, some of them, so they are hand dug. So it's not unheard of, but yeah, so it's kind of when it comes to rivers, and then you have the kind of interesting omission. There is only one river that flows north in the whole Flannies, and that's the one over here. The Tuflik is the only one that flows north of
Huh.
any major named rivers that are in the original on the original map. The whole coast from here all the way over here, there's no rivers coming out more than tiny itty bitty ones, but no named ones are
Hmm.
coming out that way. So I've added like here, and I've added here, and I've added minor ones. But and to me, the most weird ones is here. There should be a river draining out here, but this so the rivers here go from here all the way down here to Wystell Lake and then down there. So that's why I simply assume that are they're hills the whole way here, because otherwise, why should there be a marshland here, 50 miles away or even less, 20 miles away from the coast that drains across the whole continent? So it's
Every
yeah,
year, they're talking about navigable rivers in the
mm-hmm,
chat.
yeah,
Every year, near me, in the nearby town of Grafton, named for the con artist who used to live there, I guess.
yeah.
They have a replica. Someone sells a replica of the one of Columbus's ships.
Oh
You know,
wow, like the Pinta or the Santa Maria
uh,
or the yeah, mm-hmm,
that's a sailing ship,
yeah.
and it
Mm-hmm.
goes on the Mississippi just fine, as
Oh,
far as I know.
oh yeah, they weren't that big. They were like 100 feet or 150 feet or something like that. They were not that big. So you can and I have to go back and make a special map on where the rivers are navigable by putting extra lines or colors or something. I'll think about it because there are notes on the river. The major rivers have notes in
Call scared.
yeah, and you have all sorts of rivers, special river vessels, and then when you can't navigate using sails and bigger ships, then you have these like barges where you actually use poles and or you can use
Right.
horses and
Most of
drag them
the
up.
traffic on the Mississippi where I live is barge.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it's like this Renee thing in my
Hmm.
mind all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, but that in a fantasy world, a ship like the Santa Maria or something from the medieval times wouldn't go deeper than today's barges do,
Okay. I
that
see.
are
I see.
like enormous big. The reason they are flat bottom is they take thousands of tons of cargo, and I think they probably take more in payload than the whole Columbus ship weighed, or maybe
Hmm.
even twice as much.
Yeah.
So, but also the one of the other problems with when you have a sail ship is that you can rarely sail along the river. You have to follow the wind. That's why I guess you have to fairly quickly, when the river narrows, that narrows the opportunity to use wind to sail. So that's why you go from these ocean big rigged things with large masts to these small tiny sailboats that have a small triangular sail, because they can use the wind in way more wide angles, so to speak. They can go up against the wind much more than ocean going ships can. So and then you finally, when the river gets really narrow, then you take these kind of small barges that I guess are just timber put together, and then they have a bunch of people that simply put and I guess then the river is so shallow that you can actually use a 10-foot pole or something, or 15 feet pole, and then pull your sail along. Yep, but
Hmm.
now we getting, well, this is a episode where we go on rants
Yeah.
and all sorts of stuff here. So yeah.
Rahalo's dying to know though what uh item you were teasing earlier.
Oh yeah, I've teased the yeah, we had we have yeah, we had the salt marsh update, and then you and me had some interesting stuff where we had a conversation. I was supposed to have a conversation with all my patrons, but they were so busy with other things, so they didn't show up. So, which was bad for my patron, but good because you and me had a we dived into and found some super cool things. We were actually looking at one of the because we had some place names and stuff that was related to the treasures of Greyhawk. And I kind of yeah, so we started sifting through this, and that's why we got the treasures of Greyhawk was the title of the episode. So
I'm gonna
there's
break in real quick on this
yeah,
Treasures of Greyhawk.
yeah.
This book is interesting. If you don't own it already, it's an anthology of adventures that have an indeterminate time of when they're set. Although I would guess most of them are pre-wars, um, or maybe slightly after. I'm trying to think because Bigby's dead in one of these, so that would have been
Okay.
post Vecna Lives.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, anyhow, with me, and I've ran most of these, by the way. They're all really short one night,
Mm-hmm.
one session adventures. I highly recommend it.
Yep.
Anyhow, the point I wanted to get across was that the authors are like people I've never heard of.
Yep.
Walter Bass, Jack Barker, Rory Rowe, Louis Prosperi, Tom Crusoe. Does anyone in chat know of anything else these people wrote? How did these people, get together and write a bunch of Grail adventures into a book? You know, what's the history behind that book is what I
Yep.
want to know.
That's yeah, that's really interesting, and it's also
So I'm just throwing that out there.
yeah, and it's also a book that is full of these very classical Greyhawk sketches, so to speak, that I think are magnificent in a way of showing all the different characters and stuff. So yeah.
Earth Dawn. Thanks, Mystery.
Ooh,
And
okay.
Larry says he thinks it might be RPGA people. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense from yeah the time being. And it was when I started, and I just started going through the book, and I didn't even get halfway through, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden I see this little cool thing here on page
Like,
18. There's a
where's
cool
this map been all my life?
yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow, this is a little map. And it was like, yes, I have to look at it. And even
Yeah.
better, the map actually has heraldry on it.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is a shield symbol here. Oh, hang on a second here.
I don't know how that one slipped by you.
Yeah, 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 I'm amazed too. I must have read it when I was too tired or something. And so there's heraldry in here, and this is the area of one Lord Gregor, and it's
Gregor.
super cool. And when I looked at the map, so you can see here. Now I'm going to prepare, and while I'm holding this, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to zoom in here.
This is where the serendipity comes
Yeah.
in.
So this map, and I was like, where is that? And he talked about Greyhawk and stuff, and then I realized, what the heck? I just looked at it, and you can see it's this area here. It's this area here. And when I looked at the this little map here and the rivers and looked at my map, the rivers matched exactly. And I realized you have to realize that the I did this area here around Greyhawk 20 years ago. So in 20 years I forgot about it all, but apparently at least I did some research because I
Yeah.
did that map roughly. Let excuse me. I have to see when this is printed to see when it's printed. This is printed in 92. So yeah, so I probably read it and read some of the other maps and then I
Right.
wasn't that thorough. I just used the
Yeah.
maps and apparently I did at least the actual map research because my rivers match almost exactly. Even that little lake that is here on the
Yeah.
map. But I forgot to put some of the place names that are on this map are not there because there is a place called Martin or Martin or something like that. It's Marten. Sounds very Dutch to me, but yeah.
Huh.
So that is there, and then it's Karin up in the north is some little place, and then it's the Noonday Stone and the Great Oak, and then there is the Lord Gregor's shield that we don't have the colors of, but we can kind of I can see if I read the whole. I have to read the whole adventure and then see if I get any of the colors
So
in there.
the
It's upside down. Yep.
city of Greyhawk box set came out in '89. So
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
a map in that, like a really close-up local map of that area, which I think has a
Ah,
few
that has the same. So yeah.
drawn
So
out.
yep.
So that's probably where you got your
Yep.
details.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, whoever did Treasures of Greyhawk also did their homework thing,
Yep. Yep. So
and
that's
he's
good. So
but
I'm so glad that it actually they match each other
matches.
perfectly. So now I know exactly where
Now
to
you
put
have
the
some
stuff in here on there.
perfect
And the other thing, it's one of these empty spots. There is nothing there. So it's
one
perfect to
else
put. Yeah.
treasure on it.
Yeah. It looks like Martine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who's this Gregor guy? Is he like a neighbor of Robilar or something?
Let's see here. The Shroud of Karen is the title. Let's see here.
I always liked Treasures of Greyhawk because there was two of the adventures are set in and around the Hold of the Sea Princes.
It's yeah. It's so this is an old treasure map leading to some Lord Gregor. So
The tomb,
yeah.
or because it is the Karen Hills.
Yeah, I haven't had time to read the whole thing here, but it doesn't say much about the. There's no backstory about him, so
Mm.
you have to kind of read through, and then there's a tomb and some other stuff, and there is a coat of arms. There is a coat of arms. This is super cool. It's a coat of arms kind of
Puzzle.
puzzle thing
Yeah.
that actually has the shield. So there is some sort of puzzly thing. So I'm going to read this as careful as I can and see if I can distract some colors and stuff. And if any of you have this one and read it through and you find something, please send the notes or put on my Facebook group or email them to Anna at ghmaps.net or something, because I'm so interested in all everyone's kind of opinion on this, because I need to read this when I get back from Gen Con and see if I can get into it. But this is a little bit. It's so funny. And now when the just before we went on air here, I was reading the Slavers. We were trying to find some information about Highport for one of the upcoming items here, and I started sifting through, and it was like, oh, I found a new place, and I found that some other data. That's why we got stuck, because I did research and started making notes and stuff.
It's
So
just
so
blows my mind that you can still find
oh yeah,
places
every time I read these
on your
things,
map.
yeah, that there are
Yeah.
new
So
stuff. Yep.
it's not like this is some obscure living Greyhawk source.
No, it's this is one of the, and actually I think I often spent more time in the later Living Greyhawk. Thought that I already read them, but back then, 25 years ago when it came out, then or 20 almost yeah 25 28 years or something. Then I didn't know how to research. I didn't know what to look for. So I should probably go back and read the very old classics and get some stuff out of them, because now I got more of skill and leveled up in my research and as a cartographer. So now I know what to look for, but when I started this, then I didn't know what to look for. So that's
So
the
I
yeah.
just had a really loud booming thunder here.
Oh
This
oh.
is should be
So
interesting.
yeah. So hopefully we will not lose power or something. So that's the was that was one area, and there's probably I need to read this from cover to cover, because there's probably 10 other things hidden in here that needs
Uh,
to be added. But then we had one of the questions came up. It was Paul. Oh, hang on a second. In England.
Strong.
No, not Stromberg.
Luke.
Yeah. Paul Herridge.
Harridge.
Yeah, he lives somewhere in England or Wales. I'm not exactly sure where, but he had a comment. He was going to have some adventures in Stalmire. In hang on a second, I'm
Not
going to
familiar with
put. Yep,
Stalmar.
yeah,
Heard of
exactly here in on the Velverdiva here, the little town or city, and that was one of the things. So he wanted he just posted a general question: anyone having some information, because I want to
Hmm.
run an adventure in the area. And when I saw that question, was like, let's do some research. So I dug in
Very
and did.
peaceful area.
Yeah.
That's why there's no adventures set
Yeah.
there.
So I thought that would turn up nothing, but all of a sudden there was like a lot of cool stuff that came up.
Hmm.
So apparently this seems to be Stalmar seems to be a bigger place than a small town. So I'm going to upgrade it to a large town at least. And then there all of a sudden here is a fence, a marshy area called the At Fence is here, so that needs
Hmm.
to get in there. And then there is also a little gnomish place called Cobblesburg that is in the or next to the At Fence that is mentioned in the same
Copsburg.
module, where the green jerkins and some other stuff about Stalmar, and there's and these goblins, or sorry, not goblins, gnomes in Cobblesburg. They are specialists in selling components for spells. So they have a spell component shop, or like they're like the Amazon of the fantasy
Hmm.
Amazon
Huh.
of selling. So they sell to all wizards around the Flannies. They're one of these premier people to deliver. If you're a high level wizard and you need a component, they are some of the best ones to go to. And they hire adventurers to get new components and stuff. And they would apparently had their store, if I remember this correctly now, in Stalmar, but they felt like now they're so big and famous, so they can move over to their little home village or town, and it's apparently the biggest gnome settlement outside of the Cron Hills and the Greenway Valley. So
Swamp.
yep.
Okay, go.
So it's yeah so it's so that needs to go in there. So that was three new things to change on the map just by he asking that question. So
That
so
is
so
awesome.
yeah, so that is perfect. And then we had the one when I started reading the Slavers, all of a sudden there's one place in the Wild Coast that I've never thought I've heard about, and it's called Narvide or something. A R N A R R
And
H I D V E. Yeah,
why have you never heard of this place?
it's I it just it was even a headline, and it was a little like a paragraph or two about it, and
It's
I just
underwater.
skipped it. Yeah,
It's underwater.
yeah. So it's kind of yeah. So it was. I'm going to type it in here. So
It was there all along.
it was
Just
there all along, but I must have been too tired, or and you have to realize this is I did the Wild Coast like 18 years ago or 19 years ago.
uh,
So and that bit. So,
just
so
kind of coming full circle.
yep. So it's coming full circle. So there we have. So that's a place I need to research
Never
and
have
put in the Wild Coast. So that was one of the lost ones that now been found. So I need to put it in. And then I read more stuff interesting. Cantona, that is just a little town that I put a humanoid symbol on it south of. Hang on a second here. We have to go on the map here. So Cantona is this little place here that just mentioned, and then I put it in there and never thought about it again. But if you look at Slavers, there's more to Cantona than meets the eye, so to speak. Because when you look at it, it looks like this. And I'm going to make the bigger video here.
Antone is not one of the original Wild Coast towns you will see on the Darlene map.
No,
This was made
exactly. But if you
specifically
look at the
for
like the slavers here,
this
look
adventure.
at this. This is a huge place. This is a place the size of Hardby, where the it's ruined in
Um,
slavers, but it has a wall, and it's a big town or a small city. I would say this looks big as Hardby easy. So it looks like when you look at
hope
the
that's
map
not
in
just
here.
artist's interpretation and
Exactly, it might be an artist's
go
interpretation,
back
but
up.
yeah. But this is a canon source, so to speak, or an official source. So I want to put some credit in it. So it definitely needs to be upgraded to I think a small city that is now ruined is one of
Yeah,
the
of course do that.
yep, to think in there. So and then I wanted to so I basically, and that was just sifting through the first 20 pages, and I got two things already that needed to go in there. So it's kind of to go on the map. So I realized I need to read through these books once again, and I will
Yeah,
probably find 50 new things to put on the map or
that's
things to
something.
change.
and I do that all the time with the blog. I can just pull a random book off the
Yeah,
shelf and start flipping through it and be like, huh, I never heard of these places. And the
yeah,
next thing I'm
mm-hmm,
doing an article on five
yeah,
reasons to visit Furiandi
yeah.
because of these places I had never read about before.
Yeah, it's awesome. But now we have one that was, let's see what time. Oh, we have like, yeah, we're almost done an hour here. So
Oh yeah,
so yeah, so but we have one of the things that struck me. They've been in front of my eyes forever, and but then because it's used on one of the Facebook groups, they used the iconic picture from the 83 box
on
set.
your thinking caps, guys.
Yep, this picture. And I realized, I looked at it again and I realized, there's heraldry on there. And
So
I
let's
looked
hear it.
at it like there's multiple heraldry. There is not only one. That is like that is the banner up here, and this is the Gary Gygax's
Personal.
personal symbol, and it's used when he had the fund for raising money to his memorial. Used that heraldry sign. So, but it also very close to the sign of fax. And I'm going to go down here again.
See
And
the
fax
line.
have these three diamonds, and that's kind of officially established. And the same thing with Elred here. But if we look at the book again here, we have two other interesting shields here. We have the knight here on the left has
Your micro.
yeah, we'll
Get your
see.
magnifying glasses out.
Yeah, exactly. The magnifying glasses. There is a
Right.
shield here that is white or silver, and white, I guess, in heraldry times was a symbol for of silver, so to speak.
Hmm.
So you painted it white, or had a white. If you a drawing of it, you if it was just bare metal, then you
Yeah.
made it white, I guess. So white with a red up pointing chevron, and that's one of them. And on the right there is a red shield with the diagonal yellow stripe and a little up triangle and a little down triangle on the right. And these two are interesting because I want to make these the two. There are a couple of places on the map here in the Wild Coast that doesn't
He
have a
wants to.
shield. Yeah, one of them candidate is Badwall, meaning we have the official heraldry for Fax and for Elred, but we don't have it for Badwall. So I definitely want to make one of the, and I think the hottest candidate is the one on the left, the white shield, just like Fax, but with a chevron instead of three diamonds. Could could be the sign, the symbol of Badwall. And then we have the other one, the red one with a yellow side, like a what would you call it, a dash or a slash, like a forward slash, or
Yeah,
yeah,
whatever they call
whatever.
that.
It's a
I don't
diagonal
know.
yellow line, and then you have a little black up triangle and a black down triangle. And
Where's
what
Brian when you need?
yeah, when I saw that Cantona had used to be a big town at least, or a small city back in the day, that one qualified to have had a shield. And then I wanted to check, did is Highport always been a stronghold of orcs and slavers and stuff, or did Highport actually used to be a normal port city along the wild coast before?
Definitely
And then
normal.
when you read the slavers, that is a clear paragraph saying it was the major port for shipbuilding and training and stuff like that. And then in 513, after the hateful wars, I think it was called, when the
Yep.
humanoids were cleared out of the Lort mills, that's when they invaded Highport and took it
I'm
over.
really
So
wondering if Highport at one time was bigger than the city of Greyhawk.
probably it might be older than that, or at least it
Yeah.
was a big seaport, and I can understand from the strategic location. So maybe, so then I'm kind of wondering, what do you think? Should we take, we have three shields. We have the left one, and the white with the chevron, and then we have the yellow line and the little triangles, and we have the major shield that the knight have here with the red dragon and a crown in the middle. So I was thinking we have three candidates here for heraldry. So yeah, and I kind of like the knight having the thing. So, but I was thinking the crown is always a sign of royalty, or at least symbolically for royalty. Could what
So what
Was
royalty?
Highport its own little city state before it was run over by orcs, or like Badwall and Fax and Elred was, and Cantona, I guess, too, and Safeton back in the day too. And then or was it did they call themselves the kingdom of something? And do anyone in the chat has some idea? Because this is a super kind of interesting topics, and I would love to. I'm definitely going to make these shields, and they will be available. But and we also need to talk to Brian Bloomclots, that is the head heraldicer, or whatever you call it in English. So but I would, in a way, if we can find one connection to Highport and royalty, it will be awesome to make the red dragon with the make that the symbol of Highport back in the day. That would have been fantastic. Yep. Yeah.
Province, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because it was kind of a probably a seaport, and probably been so maybe for 1,000 years or something like that at least, because it is kind of a really good location down there with the so it will be kind of cool. So I'll for I'll definitely dig in when I get back from Gen Con. I will sit a couple of days and do the heraldry, and I'll talk to Brian Bloomclots too, and see what we can come up with, and kind of sharpen the image, and add this to the heraldry tradition of all the shields and stuff. So but we have three symbols that need placement, and it's cool because there are three places on major places big enough to have had a symbol along the wild coast. So it would be cool to kind of finish off the so they all are coming up to full status, so to speak. I think it would be kind of really cool. Yeah, it's kind of it was a fief of the Prince of Ulek. Ooh, cool here.
Yeah.
Both humans Lord Isul didn't like his lordship and rebuffed the hateful war participation. Ooh, here we got something.
Well, I wonder why. Because the elves and the dwarves drove all the humanoids their way.
Yeah. Yep.
They probably knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. So then we have it because the two small ones, shields on the left and the right on that image, would be kind of perfect for Cantona and a bad wall. But then the big one, I so want to give it to Highport, but it will be so cool if there actually is any real reason for it, so to speak. Just
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Doesn't really hurt anything.
No, but
So,
it's always cool the more you can actually make an official connection, so
you
to
know,
speak. That will be perfect.
from a random Jeff Easley.
hmm Well, it's on the box set, so
Yeah.
it kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Uh, well,
Bayvix has a very interesting thing. The Western equivalent of Relastra, yeah. So then we have it. Was Highport ever under Grey Kingdom rule or not? That's very interesting. I got the
uh,
perception
I'll
that
say
the
no
Wild
because
Coast.
it would have been called Rel something, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. But the interesting, to my, I simply just assumed that the Wild Coast was wild simply because it was never part of the Great Kingdom. So they,
Well, isn't the Wild Coast like the whole Greyhawk Celantan thing? It's just these little, tiny little baronies,
yeah.
and
But
yeah.
yeah, I get the sense. So
So for what
Gradsul,
you want to
okay,
have
yeah,
happened, they'd had to have been overruled by someone at some point.
yeah. So that was one of the things that I'm need to think of. But it's so good to get some input on this. That's
Yeah.
cool. So then we have to first we have to kind of draw up them properly, and then see what we can do, and see. But there those are there are three good candidates for that needs some heraldry symbol, and we have three symbols here that are kind of tied to the Wild Coast, at least from simply hearsay, or what from what I've heard been spoken in forums and stuff and said.
So what other
then we
places
have,
to
yeah,
put
we
stuff.
have one is that we also that I also want to have all the smart people in chat to talk about. And you and me, we talked when we chatted last, just in private. We had the Vera loss is one of these
Oh
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll sit this one out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, you're the one that knows more about it than me because you're the one that
No,
I just put it there.
I
And
don't.
remember, I
But
did this area 16 years ago. So
okay. I was
yeah.
going to say I think Gary created Verillos. I could be
Ah,
wrong.
okay, yeah.
I'll
So
find
I
out.
I put the Veralos as a keep and a ruin here in the western part of the Rift Canyon, but that is something that we now realize that that might have been just done it without thinking
Is
about
it
it too
supposed to
much.
be in the west
Yeah. So
or in the
so
central or
it's
eastern part? That's what I'm curious about.
uh-huh. Oh, but that was good, Gary. That intended wild coast, a hiding place from all powers. Yeah, that kind of
Uh,
that was my assumption. So yeah.
Hole is a better hiding place, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now we have Verolas. Anyone has any clue? Is that a reasonable place to put it, or
It's
is
an
there
old
yeah, yeah,
clan place, and it's like
yeah,
over on
yeah,
shadows and
does it
things. And
belong over here in the Dragon Rift?
there's a
And
lot
what?
of
Yeah,
undiscovered magic and
yeah.
stuff.
So
Oh,
that
there
was the
is.
next little mystery, so to speak, that I put on my map notes to look into and
Anna
trying to see.
has Verillo set like right in the middle of where Paizo put their Age of Worms
Yeah,
uh, stuff from that adventure path. And so Verillos, I don't think had any part in the adventure. I'm not sure.
it would. Yeah.
I'm just curious if it.
Yeah, Gary
Oh,
has.
okay.
Yeah, Gary now has the headed near the center of the southern wall, so somewhere around here. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
See,
and
give
it's
it a
that's
more
yeah,
remote feel,
yeah.
I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. So I'm going yeah,
The southern coast of it. So I don't know why I thought it was on the Banna Kingdom side of the rift, but I mean, I would have guessed it was more central to
yeah.
east,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't have thought it was on the south uh, wall.
Yeah.
Hmm. And there's nothing on the south wall, so
Exactly. This is almost devoid
that
of
makes
things. Yeah. Look, okay, we have a here, hang on a second here. We have
Gary even has a picture.
oh, cool. I'm going to show that in here. I'm going to show it. This is what the picture looks like.
Very nice.
And that is, oh, that is super, super cool. Yeah, that's the from, I think it's in Arizona. It's an old Native American thing, old place.
Pueblo,
Yeah, yeah, it's an old one. It's from,
Petra.
yeah,
Hey,
it's
Blake.
from Native American set that was abandoned in I think medieval times or something like that. And
Hmm.
yeah, oh, cool, awesome. There we have. Now I'm going to save that image and
Hmm. Quick, Blake, do an article on Verlos for Tribali
yeah, mm-hmm.
by the end of the week.
Yep, New Mexico. Okay, thank you, Gary. That was perfect. So, yep, this is great help. So now I put it in there. So for the next update, we will put it somewhere in the in this area here. It can be kind of cool, tucked in here somewhere along the side here. And by the way, that picture shown from what Verolas can look like. That's how I envision Rift Crag to also be cut into
So
the
there's
actual
actually
cliff. Yeah, so it could be protecting because when you live in Rift Canyon, there are all sorts of nasties coming out there from dragons to whatever. So I think it's a good idea to not live in houses up on the surface, but actually dig yourself into the rock and the rock face. So I always envision Rift Crag to be kind of built into the rock itself for defensive purposes.
well, I was just teasing, but Blake has a Rift Canyon article coming out soon.
Oh, oh, that is
Don't mess with
awesome.
his
Yep.
stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Or
perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yep. So this is good. So then we have, yep, Cantona. So now I'm basically gone
Just
through the list. It's taken an hour, and I've gone through the list of stuff that I found. But I wanted to make it example of all the gems and the cool stuff you can find by just sifting through. And these are details that for most people, when they run the module event, they don't think about this stuff much
nope.
because it's just the backdrop and they don't care. They go to the location and have the fights and talk to the NPCs and the monsters and all that. But for me, as the map maker, is usually the kind of little snippet in the beginning or the end would just tell the backstory about it, but most DMs can just ignore that bit. That's for me is the most interesting part of the adventure, the boring backstory that kind of people just read through. So
Well, I'm sure the authors appreciate your attention to their
yeah,
writing.
so it, yeah, yeah, thank you. And so that's kind of the cool process. So we found like half a dozen or more places just by sifting through pages,
Yeah.
and then kind of have to invent and or place things that are theirs. Meaning, we have to, maybe there are no color details on Lord Gregor's heraldry, but at least we need to put it on the map next to Lord Robilar's heraldry, and his little area and the tomb and stuff like that. Put it in there so it's there, and then we have the we need to figure out Cantona needs to be upgraded, and yeah, and then we have the heraldry for Wild Coast. That will be awesome to put it in there. And at fence, I just love, now I have to paint in a little marshy area and stuff like that. It's so cool. Yep.
Um,
So now we have, now I have burned most of my, or
yeah.
all of
Yes,
the stuff. They took an hour, and I've kind of go. Oh, Casey, hi Casey. Yep,
he's there. He's been
yep.
here since
Oh,
the start.
perfect. Yep. So he gave me another. Or I'm going to see if I can help him put together the PDF or the book for all the awesome comics. Yeah, please tell a little bit about that project and the wrapping up and all the making of. I've seen some awesome pictures of the a big
Oh,
finished book thing.
yeah. So Scott Casper's been doing a collection of all the Castle Greyhawk graphic novel chapters that we did over the years.
Yeah,
It's like something ridiculous, 260 plus pages, I think. And I guess he got it already like printed. And I myself haven't really seen any of it, but just from the pictures he's been showing off on Facebook and whatnot, it's cooler than anything I could have imagined. You know, when I was doing that art, I
yeah.
never
It's
thought I'd ever
it
see it in
looks,
print.
yeah, it
Uh,
looks fantastic just from the pictures. It's like a really thick soft cover with like a big pile of awesome comics and stuff. So
I
yeah.
gotta give all the credit to Scott because he's been doing all the heavy lifting on compiling it and
Mm-hmm.
writing additional material for it. And I kind of did the art and then was done with it, and
Mm-hmm.
he's still trying to like tie a bow on it, I guess,
Yeah.
and put something to put it all together. And so it's all on him. It's none of this guy.
Now we need to have Casey on again soon, and so you two can talk about it, and I can sit here and do the technical bits, because I bet that we have old people in chat want to see and hear some awesome backstories behind the scenes on this, because it's
Hmm.
one of the biggest creations of Greyhawk fan. If you take the whole series, is one of these masterpieces in Greyhawk fan created fan content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, how many
Um,
years did you work on
hmm.
those? That's been like, is that been a 20-year project too, or
No, 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 no. It was maybe 5 or 6 years.
yeah?
Felt like 20.
Mm-hmm. And now
Uh,
you've gone back to it and re-edit, compiled it and stuff. So then I guess that added to it too.
yeah. Uh, but speaking of fan work, Orth Journal 29 was put out
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
this week. If you haven't been over to Greyhawk Online to download that, do it
Yep.
now.
Yep.
It's,
It's an awesome, magnificent issue. So I think Christopher Nolan had done a
he got
fantastic job
so
compiling
many
it.
people to contribute. It's
Yep.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. and their articles and artwork from a whole bunch of stuff. And this, I haven't read all the articles through, but I've kind of sifted through it and read some of them. And it seems to, it's the theme is Greyhawk City, City of Greyhawk, and its guilds and adventure groups and
NPCs.
NPCs and stuff. So yeah,
NPCs.
yeah, and their guilds and guild leaders and adventure gangs and mercenary teams and stuff like that from the city, and some gossips and a whole bunch of stuff. So and the artwork and the layout and stuff is oh, it's the best in Earth Journal history.
There's some stuff I've never seen before. Like the one who did the graphic um, on like the chart on all the NPCs in the City of Greyhawk box set, and kind of has all the flow chart for their connections and everything. That took a lot of research, I'm sure. And
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
this
there's a flow chart. I have to show. I'm looking it up because it is so cool. We need to show the flow chart here.
and he got I'm just still buzzed about all the authors he got, because he has a good mix of, well, I would say old school, people who've been in the community a long time, and then he's got a lot of these new names and faces I'm not familiar with, and that's really exciting for me to see new people contributing to Earth Journal.
Well, yeah, and also we have Will Dvorak wrote a bunch of several articles, and he done a lot of the art inside, and
Good artist.
it's fantastic. Yeah, it looks so damn good. I want to hire him if I ever need character portraits and stuff. I'm going to have it. Here we have it. Now I'm going to see if I can show two pictures, page display, two-page view. Here we go, and they are oh. Hang on a second. Let's see here. Yeah, it's one of these little issues. So hang on a second here. That was probably it's this is supposed to be on. I'm going to do this. So it's supposed to be on one page, but it's on two
It's
pages and
too,
not on the same spread. So
yeah,
that's kind of
it's
yeah. So you have to
huge.
to simply save or export these two pages and then put it together into one JPEG. So that's one of the tiny little issues.
A
But
fun
this
poster.
flow chart is awesome fun to look into. I'm sure. So and
I would
that's
like to
yeah.
maybe ask Christoph maybe to get just that graphic.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Put that on Greyhawk online. That's yeah.
very common,
Yep. I just
very common
yeah.
handling.
And there's one little bit. It's then and now some more tidbits and stuff of from Saltmarsh too. That's one of the few articles that are
Hmm.
not City of Greyhawk related. I'm going to make the window a little bit smaller here. So hang on a second. We can do this, and then I'll shift to this so we can look at it. So yeah. So the folks of Saltmarsh, and there's a comparison of an old Saltmarsh map and the
That was
one
a brilliant
latest.
idea.
Yep.
I wouldn't have thought to compare the two.
Yep, so it's kind of awesome. And there you see the problem for me as a cartographer, because a lot of these in a lot of things these maps are similar, but there are vital differences and stuff. You have a long city wall here that is not on the other one, and there's a forest here and stuff. So yeah, I encounter this problem all the time. Thankfully, I haven't done that many detailed maps like this, but the problem is simply when you have overland maps. But here's an awesome example of more Will Dvorak's fantastic art. Here's another one, and so there's awesome. And one of the problem that I see a little bit with that it's not yeah it's slight problem that I think one of the things that I'm going to suggest that they should say. I'm going to see if I can find one of the articles here. There's a lot of articles that has stat blocks and crunchy information, armor class, hit points, and stuff like that. I would love if they have an edition notice saying that these are stats from first
Hmm.
edition, second edition, OSR, third edition, or whatever it is, so to speak. So
Uh,
you know what game system, what rule system they used to generate the stats in. That's something I would see. So they can just make a note saying that these stats. Here's a perfect example. They have stats here that I assume are first, second edition, or first or second or something, but I don't know. So
some kind of
yeah,
stats
so
across all.
it will be perfect if the article states what rule system they have, because then you can fairly, well, at least you can roughly tweak it from one to the other. But if you don't know what the actual system they used to begin with, that makes it harder. So that's one of the
Hmm.
tiny little upgrades that I miss, so to speak. But it's a great one. So yeah, and here you have Lord Robilar on the front here. So, and I love the backgrounds too, and it's kind of cool. So yeah,
One of the articles I see was done by Tony Milani. We met him at GaryCon. He brought
yeah,
that big
yep,
map, print
yep,
off of your map.
mm-hmm.
So great, great issue bringing the uh, community together.
Yep. So this is a perfect, and I don't know exactly how often, if it will be every 6 months or every 4 months or
Well, he
3.
definitely has 30 and 31's themes planned out.
Oh,
That's
okay, cool. So that will
it
be a,
says
yeah.
autumn
Hmm.
winter.
Yep, yep.
Three
So,
events.
and
Now,
this one weighs in at 44 pages, so it's not, that's big, and yep,
as
that's
the Orc Journal used to have a fast release schedule like that, and got burnt out real quick. They ran out of contributors
hmm.
or people to edit it, format it. So I would have been fine if it was just an annual. Well, just strike while the iron's hot.
Yep, yep. So this is and Gary Julian is going to be having an article
Oh,
in the next one. So ooh, awesome.
attaboy. Gary finally digging into his vault for some unreleased
Yep.
material
Mm-hmm.
quarterly. Okay.
Yeah, quarterly, twice a year. So yeah, maybe, but it doesn't need to be super regular. As long as it's
Say,
fairly regular, so you get at least more than one issue a year, will be kind of fantastic. But on the other hand, now we have Greyhawk Online, the website, so as well. So it's kind of, but it's still cool to get a PDF you can sit on your iPad and read, or you can print it out and make it into, and
yeah.
then maybe we can have a yearly tradition to get a printed version for every GaryCon, will be kind of super cool. So we can get every GaryCon can have an Earth journal that is actually, yeah, one before Gen Con and one before GaryCon will be cool. Yeah, and
Yeah.
have a printed one, a few printed issues to have at GaryCon. That will be wonderful tradition if we can keep that. So yeah.
Hmm.
So that is kind of cool. And let's see if there's anything else. So we have the broken staff of the broken staff. That sounds cryptic, and
All
that
the
was that. Yeah, that's Malden that did that one. So, and then we have presented Gord the Rogue is presented. That's kind of cool, and Lord Robilar, of course.
yeah.
Yep. So and then we have so there's a bunch of NPCs, and then there's some other cool things sprinkled in, like the folk of Saltmarsh, and the pirates of Saltmarsh, and some, yeah. So there is a whole bunch of cool things done here. So yeah, and now it's Creative Commons.
So
So yep.
the next issue's theme is feuds. So I can't wait to
Oh
see what kind of
yeah.
rivalries they're drumming up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's plenty to choose from. So yep. Okay, now I haven't looked in chat for a while. So do we have any more questions or cool
Uh,
comments and stuff?
talking
Yeah.
about release frequency.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, attaboy.
Oh,
Mystery cycle.
yeah. That is. Oh, that's great. That's
Are you
awesome.
going to be going by mystery cycle in the Orth Journal or going by your actual name?
Yeah, that's. I'm kind of curious at times what's behind these kind of cool nicknames. Yep.
For both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my last, well, good.
Mm-hmm. Got a couple of. Oh,
Yeah,
now I'm getting curious here.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I know he's got me wondering
Oh,
because
it's
I don't
yep.
remember.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is it on
The
there?
Tansy Velvet Buckthorn. Mm-hmm. And Patchwork Varlin. Mm-hmm. Oh, that is awesome. Yep. And there is also the
Oh, yeah, mystery cycle.
yep.
Okay,
Yep.
derp.
And
Sorry, man.
we have the Thieves Guild and the Guild of Wizardry of Greyhawk, and I need to read some more about them. That sounds very
So
interesting.
yeah, congrats on anyone who's contributing or plans on contributing
Mm-hmm.
to Orc
Yep.
Journal.
Yeah. Hats off to everyone who
You're part of the
creates a
club
lot of.
now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
This is so cool. So now you have to explain something to me as an immigrant to this country. And I'm not going to go into politics here. This is not about it. But it's one of these things in English that this Earth Journal is volume 3, number 2, issue 29. So what dictates the volume 3? What
where
how
did that happen?
I don't know. I simply,
I don't
it just
know.
struck me that a lot of magazines here comes in volume one, two, three, whatever, and I have no clue on
Maybe
how many issues are a volume. Is that what you can put in one box, or how does that work?
it's, yeah, what Mr. Cycle says, it's a publishing team, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
um,
I'm just curious because American magazines, a lot of them I read, they have this kind of volume so and so, and then number that, and that's like, yeah.
but
Year would be
right,
more kind of yeah. So it's one of these English American, I think, more than British English expressions that I don't really understand. So I'm always curious to figure out what's behind it because it's some cool way of doing it. So yeah. Yeah, and America don't practice midsummer. That's something you should do because midsummer is not political at all either. So it's perfectly safe to practice from a political perspective. But midsummer is one of these cool and it's very grey hawkish. It's like it's the Rich Fests or sorry it's yeah Rich Fest in the summer. It's Need Fest Rich Fest. Yeah.
I'm with Blake. I'd rather write about anything but Greyhawk specifically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of territory out there to cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dragon had the volume too, and that was probably the first time I saw it.
This thing cracking me up.
The Midsummer horror movie.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And I will do three heraldry for Highport and Badwall. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. Interesting.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Yeah. But you see, we Scandinavians, we weren't so fussy back then. We were kind of. But you see, the Midsummer was not about that. That was the midwinter blood. That was
Hmm.
that was the time of sacrifices and stuff. In the summer, that was the time to make babies. So to drink a lot
Aha.
and make babies. That was what the Midsummer was for, and that's why in Scandinavia still there's a peak in birth rate in mid March to mid April. So
Dang.
yeah, so there's a lot more babies. So there's still more babies being made in midsummer than any other time of the year. So, and I'm a typical example of it. So I was made around midsummer. So it's kind of. But then we have around Christmas that was the midwinter blood, and so that was the time when they had sacrifices and stuff.
Oh, I see a sequel coming.
Well, according to how many years in the magazine have been published and issues are and okay, so this
Hmm.
volume 3, number 2. So have it only been around for 3 years? This is kind of okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Yep. This. Yep. Thank you, Devin. This is kind of interesting, but let's see if I can get these kind of things sorted out.
So where anything else on North Journal?
I'm looking at the the list here, and that's the what I get from. We can go into to a lot of the but I haven't. Then I realize I need to read the articles. The ones I've read, I read. Jay Scott's article of the adventure groups and mercenary groups of Greyhawk. It was an awesome, really well written article. So,
Right up his alley.
yep, it was taken from his campaign, but he tied it in really well with published content, and it was more like his campaign stuff, his from his personal campaign, was just an
That's what I
addition to the other content. So it was perfect. Yep. Oh yeah, exactly. The Gary, the pea soup and pancakes. That's a tradition that the military started, and to have on Thursdays in the military, always serve pea soup and
oh,
then get pancakes with strawberry or raspberry jam on afterwards. So that's the meal, and traditionally
here.
comes with punch to drink. That's the traditional to have with the pea soup. So yep.
Range.
Hmm. So that's a tradition. So and that's one of the things that I would love. Maybe we can't fill a whole episode, but food items from
Food.
and food and drink from Greyhawk, because there are some
Well,
cool things. Just go back to the inn in Hamlet. They had a little list of things to drink, and there were Pomage Black, and there were Valunian Fire Amber Cognac, and there were wine. I remember a few of these from the list back in the day. So there are
back
some,
in the day, I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say
So
those
from
websites
running
have
it and so on. So there are some cool things.
Grubhawk.
Yeah.
Love
Hmm.
it.
So there's a bunch of them, and there was one other place I read that their favorite thing, they made a cranberry juice and they fermented cranberry into some cranberry wine thingy, and stuff. So there's a bunch of
I'm writing Grubhawk down because I might use that on a blog post.
Yep. Oh, and then Gary has some a Grubhawk. Oh, that is a perfect
Yeah.
one. Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, and Sweden, yeah, they have some cool old libraries that kind of looks not. They don't look like the super fantasy library, but they have some old ones. That there are some. I've seen some. They have some cathedral in some of the old churches and universities, like in Lund in southern Sweden. They have a medieval library that is tied up between the church and the university. They were wall to wall originally, and they
Sure.
have old. Now they have more modern buildings these days, but they have some old buildings that look, they could be taken more or less out of a fantasy movie. So they're kind of really cool. So yeah.
Iron League chef.
Yeah. Iron Chef. Oh, that's perfect. Now we have, you see, we have for one whole episode. So yeah. So yeah, so the food and drinks of Greyhawk is kind of awesome. I'm always trying to look into it. And I had one little village over in Devon, in the area where they had cockatrices. So someone was breeding cockatrices, and to get them less lethal, so they didn't turn people into stone as quickly or whatever, that gaze thing. So they had like little heads, and they put like little and tied like some
Yeah.
little caps
Hood.
on them, yeah, hood on them, and kind of breeding, trying to breed them so they get rid of the gaze was a little bit less strong, so to speak, and because they were super yummy to eat, and so you could actually get deep fried cockatrice, and that was the a super yummy meal, so you can get that if you had a fair bit of money. So they became, it was one of these kind of really cool little restaurant out of nowhere. So
Buffalo
yeah,
cockatoos
yeah,
wings.
but cockatrice wings. So yep. So I think that you can make a lot of things. And actually, I saw an interesting thing in one of the Living Greyhawk adventures, where they actually had they started at the Inn of the Golden Arches. And
Oh,
yeah, and I think that was so super cool. It's like, yeah, it's McDonald's of the inn. So they had beef patties at the Inn of the Golden Arches, and beef patties with bread and potatoes, taters at the Inn of the Golden Arches. And when I see they have these kind of tiny little mini burgers at White Castle that you can buy in,
sliders.
yeah, and all of a sudden I realize White Castle is a perfect chain of restaurant name in the Flanies and stuff. So
Yeah.
you can, yeah, so you can take real world things and
Grey
spawn
Castle.
off them. So yeah, exactly. You can have the Grey Castle, yeah, the Grey Castle chain
Um,
of restaurants, so to speak, and inns. Yeah, yep. So you can
it's a
spin of this and
cookbook.
yep, and go on. So it's an awesome topic, and
And
you can have all sorts of and I did the in one of the adventures I had the Pommage Black was a nasty stuff that if you drank it you can get some random good effect, or you can after and to it was like imbued with the devil basically, or some infernal stuff. So you initially you got a boost to your abilities. Everybody want to drink more, and then after a while you get more negative and things go downhill, so to speak. So yeah.
yeah, Devin, I used to live for those April Dragon magazine issues.
That is awesome, Mr. Cycle. That yeah, that I need to read that one. Oh, that is so cool. Yep, I need to read it. So yep. So the food stuff is kind of yeah,
Be
that's
fun.
yep. So that's one of the things you can that it's not too difficult to do, and it's also so fun if you can have a menu for the inn that is part of the center of the campaign, so they can actually find cool stuff. Yep.
They're in like the series articles, and you wanted the fluff. You don't want the crunch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love the fluff. I'm a fluff person way more than a crunch. Crunch is a necessary evil to me, but it needed. I acknowledge that, but it's the fluff that's the
I
fun
would
bit.
always go straight to the comics.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Ooh, cover
Ah,
comics.
yeah. But the
Yeah,
Dragon Mirth was so much fun. That was yeah. We need to we should dig into it and show some of the wonderful one. I remember one of
I've
the
done a couple blog posts about
yeah.
Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's fun.
yeah, one of my favorite ones was that was this adventuring party, and everybody's smashed to pieces and sit everywhere, and then there's a pig laying dead on the side. That was one tough pig, and it was that was so well written, drawn. It
Some
was yeah.
centerfold, nice. Uh, Not all the Dragon Mirths were funny. Some were
No,
just
some of them,
eh,
yeah. There was
maybe
like,
it was a different time, but
mm-hmm, yeah.
there were some gems in there.
Yeah, yeah. There's some absolutely fantastic. It was like
You know,
coming running like flee everyone. There is a 13th level paladin that has one, or like it was a 17th level paladin that has one XP left or 10 XP left for the next level. So everyone flee and disappear, and he's coming running to kill everything in its way. So yep.
oh man, yeah, good time.
So that
Davis. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's there's this. We should have an episode on alcohol and then have beer
Mm.
or something to drink while we do this or something. Yep, this is kind of awesome. And I have to state that it's just water in this one. So yeah.
I'm drinking tea.
Yep. Now you're writing so much cool in chat that I have to read here. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Gary's right.
Legend of
Waldorf.
Waldorf. What was
That
that?
was. Oh, you don't know the Waldorf story?
There's the Waldorf family that.
No. Yeah. Well, uh, some guy was trolling the Dragon Magazine letter pages, saying his
Okay.
character Waldorf had done this or that, and everyone had to turn in their whole the treasure and XP or whatever. It was kind of
Okay.
there's more to it, but I've must tell you the responses were funnier than the original post.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to help things along, yeah, I don't know the story off the top of my head, Gary. That's why I have a whole blog post about it,
Oh.
so you can read about it at your leisure. And I did a comic to go with it.
Ah. Awesome. Yep. This is so good. So yep. So now we see
Crazy.
that's perfect.
Good times.
Yep.
Pre-internet.
Mm-hmm. So we have the and now it's less than 2 weeks. So it is 2 weeks to Gen Con. So 2 weeks tomorrow morning. So
Oh
yep.
man,
Yep.
what am I going to do that week?
Exactly. You that will be like Sports Week that you're not there, so you have to watch it on Twitch and YouTube and
Yeah,
various
true.
blogs and stuff. So actually, it's I guess it's like a huge sport event that way that you when you're there, you only see the little bits that you actually attend to, and then at home, when I go back home, I can see all the seminars and all the stuff that I didn't have a chance to catch up on. So it's definitely that I relive Gen Con and fill in a lot of the blanks afterwards when I come back home to it, so I can see all the Twitch things and stuff.
Um, yeah, I'll definitely be following on Twitch. Hopefully, everyone streams their stuff.
Yeah, let's see if there was something on the map that I missed. So no, that's the. Uh, I think I got it all on the stuff here. But I've definitely got myself a lesson this week that I need to read, go back and read a lot of the classics again because there's
Go back
lots
and
of
read.
stuff. Yep.
Return to White Plume Mountain. Uh,
Yep. Oh yeah,
I'm
return to.
running. I'm running regular White Plume Mountain right now,
Uh
and then
huh.
I just picked this book up, and it's set like 20 years after the original or something like
Oh,
that.
that's perfect too.
And I'm wondering, after the Treasures of Greyhawk debacle, there's got to be something in that book you missed.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely. And
don't
then you have after that you have the Age of Worms campaign that goes
know.
back and covers a lot of the same area afterwards, but that's like 50 years or 30 years or 20 or it's a number of it like at least a decade afterwards. So it's kind of okay. So does anyone have a major component?
So you want me to do a comic of Anna to fill the time when she's not alive? When
Yeah.
she's
Yep.
funny.
That might be. Yep. A major Greyhawk component they would like to retcon. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
retconning. Well, sure.
I
There's
don't think
plenty.
the Rehisians should be Sewell.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. You know
yeah,
more about the Rehisians than I do.
it's the explanation for them maybe being a different culture was to
But aren't they one of the major Sewell houses?
yeah, that was one of the long-winded explanations about the migrations and
Yeah.
them ending the Sewell end up at the
Yeah,
extremes. They
meaning further
Vermont
north and
and
south. So yeah, to me it's kind of weird.
Medio,
Yeah, it's
Rizia,
yeah.
uh,
But
that were pushed
it's
to the
like
edge.
Canada and South America or South Africa and Australia, meaning Canada and Australia roughly as far apart as you can be, and
They
they yeah.
could have easily just had that area be flan or mix,
Yeah.
not changed anything.
But on the other hand, down south, they need to have Sewell is described as these kind of very proud, super aware people that promote their own race and
And
heritage.
they could still be down there,
Yeah.
but you don't have to have necessarily Sewell who have gone savage.
No, but the interesting thing is now you have some of the vicious Sewell in the south that in the form of Scarlet Brotherhood, and then you have the Sewell up north, and but if you tainted the origins or the Flan, then well on the
Now,
yeah, so it's kind of
flan
you
are so
yeah
fluid; it's hard to tell.
yeah yeah
There are so many different culture analogs.
yeah yeah.
Not a retcon, but I make the Rennie from Earth.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I would be interested in
Yeah
exploring their origins a little more, I suppose.
yeah.
Gary would like them all dead, I'm sure. Um,
Oh, the Rehisians raised that.
oh,
Oh, that is cool.
opposite
Yeah.
direction.
Mm-hmm. That's
Attaboy. Good idea, Davies.
that's really cool. Yeah.
That
And
makes more sense.
yeah, one of the questions I asking myself is that are humans spread all over the earth? In my view, they're not. that because in a lot of people they simply assume that there's some form of humans all over the planet, just like it is on Earth today. But I
Right.
don't get the sense that I don't think I want that. It's like I want the Flannies and some other part. That kind of that's where these hang out. The rest of the planet is for other stuff.
Other stuff.
Yeah, so that's how I think I want to
Well,
envision it
that's
more.
why it sucks that Western Auric, the Beyond the Flanneus, is a lot of Orid stuff.
Yeah.
And they're saying that they migrated
Yeah,
eastward.
because that was the easiest way to go because west there's something nastier, so to speak.
But
So
then the
yeah,
Orids started in when they got to the Flanneys, they came from the west. So did the Orids just make a whole circumnavigation of the globe?
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
Okay. I don't like that.
yeah. So I get the sense that they come originally. The humans come from central Warwick, west of the Flannies, and kind of migrate because the Flannies is
That
kind of
all directions. That
yeah,
makes more
yeah.
sense.
And they go in all directions, but they're still and but the planet is so large, and then you have like the Australia, the huge southern continent that is so far away that I yeah might not have any. So it's kind of
In a
yeah.
world where you have other sentient races, and it would also be presumptuous just to have humans
Yeah, because in the
on
fantasy
every
world you have so many other creatures that can, from
so
humanoids to all sorts of stuff that can take over and fill the rest of the planet. So I'm going to just open the world map here and see what we have here. Here we go. So I can just so we have the so if we have the Flannies and so you have a large landmass where it's easy to migrate back and forth and kind of spread and Hipmona land is that little jump here is easy, but then you have other continents like Anakiris or whatever you call the southern continent and these are kind of in some views of Earth these are kind of interchangeable. So there might be a continent here or it might be a continent there. I kind of added both of them in my view. But
okay.
any either wherever you go, it's a huge gap in between, and that gap was not bridged in a long time in Earth's history. It took thousands of years of human civilization. It was like the Polynesians probably didn't reach the last islands and stuff, New Zealand and so on, until hundreds of years ago. It was medieval times or not much further before then. So it's kind of the Earth hasn't been colonized by humans all over the planet until very recently. And if you take a fantasy world and assume that it's not been around that long, it's kind of I get and also that there's much more intelligent competition in a fantasy world than it is. The elves, for instance, have probably been around for a long time. If they're only each generation is a millennium, then that means that you probably have a much longer history than humans. I don't know, but and then you have things like dragons who are damn smart and powerful, and they've probably been around for millennia or for many a long time. So yeah, so I'm kind of yeah
Prehistoric dwarves.
yeah. Yeah, we have yeah. Gary's on a ethnic
Nice.
cleaning mission today to
Yeah.
yeah to get
The
the
pantheons would
hmm
make more sense.
yeah yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Here we go. Mirror
yeah
shadow.
yeah. Oh, welcome. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so
and that's a perfect thing. Meaning that they were isolated. So in a fantasy world, you can assume that, or you can simply say that they're not humans. There's some other race that lives there and can kind of yeah. You have
very cool.
yeah, you have all sorts of Kenko, Thrikeen, Galabdur, Needleman, Formians. Yeah, yeah, you have all
Huh.
sorts of Minotaurs. You have all sorts of stuff that has some sort of reasonable. Yeah.
So maybe an Australian like continent that's like 2/3 desert
Hmm.
could be a dark sun ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be badass.
Yeah, you can meaning that there is so much, and you can have and the southern continent is here. The southern continent is so so far south that it's not deserty. It's more kind of semi-arctic to temperate. So you
Hmm.
have things from big forests, pine and kind of evergreen forest to tundra, and then polar and arctic. So there you have it. But you also have in
Hmm.
parts of the here you have in parts of Warwick here you have huge areas in here that is they are so far away from oceans that normally they will be interior deserts. That will be like Mongolia and
Yeah.
inner deserts in Central Asia, and so further south they might be even warmer. So here you might have a dark sun kind of landscape that is burnt and far away. Oceans and water are 1,500 2,000 miles away, and that opens up a large possibility because this is big as North America, and this is like Canada and the US together and some in size. So it's a huge area that can be filled with enormous deserts and big mountain chains and
Ridiculous
plateaus and stuff.
size.
So yeah, so you definitely have room for a dark sun area, kind of a campaign area in here where you can have all sorts of cool things in it. So and then up north, now we're getting into the, but up here you have a huge area where you have these kind of, you have two areas that are ripe for mammoth kind of cold, interesting climate. Here you have this huge area up here in the north,
Ultra
yeah, and then you have this, yeah,
Hyperborea,
half this continent down here is ripe for having mammoths and even bigger winter beasts and
phosphines.
yeah, all sorts of stuff you can have here that are simply fantastic. So yeah, the Thanoi, oh, a walrus people. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, Anakiris or something is a name I saw for the southern
That's
continent. Yeah, so
a
I kind
really
of I like that
good
name way
stuff.
more than just the southern continent or something. So it's kind of, yeah, Anakiris or Anakiris or however you pronounce it, I don't know, but it's one of the names that I saw pop up for it. So
I
I,
think do a Carthan called it Antaria.
yeah, yeah, it's been called Antaria. It's been called what was the? Hang on a second here. It was called for
Caris.
it was called. I have the. I think um, it was called something when he did the Kickstarter. Oh, stupid me. Frank Menser did a Kickstarter, and
Oh,
he called it something else.
Imperia.
Imperia,
Imperia.
yeah, he called it Imperia, and it's been called Antaria, and yeah, and so there's been, yeah, and these have been Hyperborea up north, or is that down south? I forgot which. Yeah, Imperia. Yep. So there's been very different names and stuff on it, and then we have Fireland up here. So it's kind of, and this in some maps this is a separate continent, not tied up with Rerik, and in some maps it is. And I kind of like the land tongue, so you can have all these kind of wintry things coming down, and so that's something. Yeah, in north wind. Yeah, Hyperborea
Hmm.
north. Yep. And then you have the Antarctic equivalent, the continent down here. So yep. So that's the okay. Now we have had lots of side tangent, but this was an
Wow.
episode we were supposed to have that. So yeah,
Yeah. Um,
Telshur is coming. Ooh,
Tiltress.
yeah, that's
Uh,
that's that's really cool. Yep. So, any other cool kind of upcoming things? Or we have next Sunday, before as I remember it, next
yeah.
oh, this Sunday, the
This
21st,
Sunday.
will be Lord Gusumba. Jay Scott will have on his channel Lord Gusumba. Uh, will
Lynn.
have Len LaKafka and Brian Blomklotz and me will be on the show. But Len LaKafka is the big name there. So
When does that start?
it starts 7:30 if I remember correctly on
7:30 Western.
Eastern. Yep,
Eastern.
7:30 Eastern. Yep.
See, I'm trying to now figure in my head if I'm gonna catch that. I'll probably catch the end of it.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you have some
That's my
sports
game
event.
night.
Oh, that's a game night, but you can almost like sit and watch it while you have to kind of cancel your
Eh,
game for that. Yeah.
Space is at a premium. I don't know.
It's an interview. We will talk to have a conversation with Len about whatever he wants to talk about, basically.
Okay.
So we will
Very
have a
cool.
chance to have some cool anecdotes and stuff like that. So asking questions and
Captivate.
stuff. Yeah. So, and we have Blake has done some cool things here. Just done
Oh, okay.
Feywild and Shadowfell on Tribality.
Right.
Ooh, that's so cool. Yep. I'm really looking forward to those. Yep.
Rift Canyon.
Yep. And Mino Wood and Yucca
Or
Hills.
Yucca
Oh, that is
Hills.
fantastic.
It's hitting all the really cool places that I haven't even wrote anything about. I like it.
Yeah, I've just read the few little paragraphs that are mentioned somewhere. Like the Yucca Hills is probably even less written than Ull, so to speak. It has
Yeah, that'd be
basically
right.
nothing written on it. So, yep.
Yeah.
So, and for now we have to hang on a second
And we
here.
know there's werewolves in the Mina Wood, but
Yep.
that's about it.
So let's show these places. So the other ones here. So the Yucca Hills over here at the northwestern end edge of the Flannies in the Shakyik Horde, the tiger nomads, is these kind of low hills that are the northern end of the Yacht Hills. There are some hills here that are called the Yucca Hills. And they're probably called that
Wait,
because the capital of the tiger nomads, Yucca, is here in the Yucca
yeah. I
Hills.
was gonna say we kind of dismiss these hills, but these are the hills that separate the nomads from civilized Ekberg.
Yeah, exactly. It's down here. Yep, it's the Udgru Forest and the Yucca
The
Hills
hills
here. Yep.
the nomads originally migrated
Mm-hmm.
through
Yep.
to
Yep.
out
And
north.
I guess thanks to the climate and stuff, you can probably only go this pass in the summers, and the winters it probably snows over and freezes over the whole thing. So, and there's but we know that there are tigers around, and there's probably some other nasty stuff up
Yeah, I
here
was gonna
too.
say it's got to be really wild and hostile,
Yeah. So
or
this
else
is yeah.
one would
So
have built stuff there, right?
Yeah, there are a few. You have there are some towns here along the
Ah,
coast, and firstly, so you can tell this is a coastal culture. So they built the towns and cities on the coast so
yeah,
they can access them using ships probably the whole year round, and
inland.
yeah, and that way they don't have to travel inland much. And there, I simply assume that there was a kind of that's like a primitive road here that is probably only open in the summer months. And then there's some monasteries for some monks that want to sit there in solitude somewhere, and that's
Mons,
basically
yeah,
it. So
it's a
and
bit
then they
great.
yeah, and I guess they have expeditions here to gather resources and timber and whatnot they need for their trade
Hmm,
and stuff. And then
I
you have
like
Yeka up here, and it changes where the tiger nomads roam in a large area. And I guess they simply have the town here and their capital. That seems to be their only permanent establishment, just so they can trade with the Southerners more easy and
right,
stuff. And
right.
also as a defense, yeah,
Semi-permanent.
towards the Southerners too, so they can gather. And I guess also the climate in the southern end is probably better than up here north, so that might be another reason why you actually gather in the south. So this is very
Interesting little area.
yep.
I
And
like it.
then we have the Rift Canyon and the Mino Wood. So now it's time to zoom out and find where the
Complete
Mino
opposite
Wood.
side of the map.
Yep, exactly. The Mino Wood is down here. It's one of these kind of interesting forgotten woods that covers the you have the Hollow Highlands and you have the Kingdom of Sundi that is kind of surrounded by mountains and hills everywhere except there's like a little gap up here. And then these highlands are overgrown in this area down here with forest. And this I take it as more like a Mediterranean cedar forest like or something from the climate. It should be something more like that.
Alcofa.
Yeah, full of stuff. So this is an also kind of a wilderness. I don't think there's
It's
anyone really.
Uncle
Yeah.
Uncle Possess is Merlin's castle in the
No, but
Yucca
it's
Hills.
close. So hang on a
No,
second. Let's do a
is it?
quick trip. Yep, it's
Okay.
close. So
Okay.
so you have the Yucca Hills here, and you have Merlin's castle is up here along the coast, very north edge here, next to the permafrost, so to speak.
What's he doing with a castle up there? I wasn't aware of
He
this.
had a castle up there
Huh.
as remote as possible, so to speak. It was literally, I think they wrote it, it was like the end of the Flannies or something like that. So I put it way up there, so he's kind of having his own little little domain up here, no one else to compete with, so he can be up there all by himself.
I wasn't aware he had a castle
Yep, so he has a
up there.
castle up there. Yep, and then
But the
we,
Yucca Hills would do just as well, I suppose.
yeah, I
Anyway,
think so. But this way he
yeah,
didn't have to compete with the tiger nomads, I guess, that
yeah.
climb. Yeah, and so then we have Mino Woods that basically only are a little bit settled here in what used to be
Like
the
Gary says, the Mino Wood was an adventure hook in the '83 guide.
okay, yeah, with werewolves and stuff. So okay, yep, yep. So I put it in here, and it's kind of, there's a bit hilly in the middle, and I don't know exactly why there's um, it's, I had to do it like this because the rest of the hills are not overgrown with that much forest. They're trees, of course, but this is more kind of a big collection of, there's like a more dense forest here. So,
Hmm.
and I take this, I envision this like the old forest of Lebanon and parts of Greece and Turkey used to be
Yeah.
full of forests like this back in the day before the modern era when they were cut down but in prehistoric times especially the eastern Mediterranean had wonderful big cedar
So
forest
you're saying
and
these
stuff.
are a really old wood?
I would say that at least may not, but doesn't need to be that old, but at least it's more in the style of the Mediterranean
Uh,
forest of
okay.
old. And that's
Climate
from the
wise.
climate wise, it should be
Yeah.
more like the cedar woods of Lebanon and Turkey and
Okay.
Greece and stuff. So yeah, and so but it's one of these kind of off the beaten chart
Definitely.
forest. Yep. What?
I like it because it's, yeah, you said it's off the beaten path. No one's going to set a campaign in there. This is a destination.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's not a home base. It's one of these that you go to for some cool reason because you want to go out to some remote kind of cool location where you can put stuff that are way off the. It's a perfect place for werewolves, cults, and stuff like that that are hidden away from civilization. So and actually there are a bunch of cool forests that no one really talks about much. One of my favorites here is the rock forest up here. It's a huge forest up
Nice.
here that is kind of way off the beaten track, that is named. So that's one. And then you have one here on the right here. You have the Sable Forest up here in the north. That's another one that is,
Rock's big,
yeah. So Iraq is really big forest, so to speak. And then
and,
here you have the
and
spiky forest is another one that is kind of cool. And so there's a bunch of them up north, and you have here,
Sablewood
yeah,
would be great because in the description of different trees in the '83 guide, they talk about how Sablewood is
yeah,
rare and
yep,
sought after.
yep.
That would be,
That makes perfect sense because it's real literally in the other end of the world. So
I
yeah,
mean, if your character wanted to make some money, put a castle in the Sablewood Forest and just
and
start
transport it down. Yeah, so we need to,
transporting
yeah,
trees out of there,
yep,
make some
yep.
move
Yeah, and then we have there's a bunch of forest up north, and this one, the Forlorn Forest.
forlorn.
Yeah, it's kind of forlorn. It's kind of, yeah, it's really, it's one of the cool ones here. And then let's see what more now. And then we have of course the Udguru. The Udguru
Mm-hmm.
Forest here is one of my favorite.
Back
I can,
over
yep,
the
yeah,
Merlin.
I envision tigers and other cool stuff in there. So that one high up in the Yacht Hills and down almost to the coast. That's a cool one.
It's a dense.
Yeah, and then we have one that is kind of strategic in many ways, the Bramble Wood. That is one of the barriers between the Becklunish West and the rest of the Flan East. You have the gap here and the Thornwood Gap, but the Bramblewood Forest is another one that is a
That's
barrier.
one you don't want to get lost in.
Yep, but they made it easy to navigate because you have the Irafa Road that basically goes straight through, and there are these keeps and towns all along that facilitates travel through. So they made it
Cool.
easy for that way. And what do we have? And then we have
Ah,
another one, classic from various modules. The Dim Forest here is it's kind of that is mentioned in the Ore Lane is a classic adventure that was one of the first ones we played before I even started playing Greyhawk. We bought
there's a
that.
lot of forests just
Yep,
with the
yep. So
that
he,
area right there.
Yep. So the dim forest is kind of an interesting one. That is, yeah. And then on the southern side of things here is the oitwood. So yeah. And then you have the hornwood on here, and
Because then once you go south from there, it's like, where's all the trees?
yeah, exactly. But there are
They're all
lots. I
there.
envision lots of trees, but they don't have a name, forest name, so
Mm,
to speak. Here is
yeah.
one that is there, and I have to read it here. It's the Sylvan Woods, there, the
Okay.
Sylvan Woods, and then there are some small ones. You
I say,
have the River Wood, you have the Thorn Wood.
okay.
Yeah, so small ones here, and now we added the latest ones. We added were the Drowned Forest and the
The old man have.
yeah, and then you have
Hey.
the Dreadwood here. So yeah. Oh, yes, Minnie, we are going to go very soon. I'm sorry if Minnie's whining a bit here, so but we're
Uh-oh.
done here in 10 minutes. So, yeah.
What's a good place for treants to live?
We have one that they are listed is the Silverwood.
Ah,
They're even listed there as it's in very elven forest with treants. And from my opinion, elven lands are they're kind
yeah.
of one of
Well,
the obvious candidates will be up here in the Vespa, in the Western Vespa here, with
or
elven.
sus, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Sus might be some evil treants too, and you have there is one from the Living Greyhawk campaign. They took the
Yeah.
old. Hang on a second. We have to move east here a bit, and here we have this one that was called the Thelwood back in the day. This is a Thel plateau, and you have the Thel River coming out of it. But then in the yeah,
Boom.
it was some sort of undead disease for the trees, so the trees became kind of fossilized, bony, weird things, and they died out. And the druids were trying to fix it, and then they renamed it the Bonewood. So and it's in the Living Greyhawk campaign. It was I can't pronounce the name, and it was W Vagagamas something, an evil
Yeah.
tree ant, an abyssal demonic evil tree ant that roamed in that area and did it, so to speak. A really nasty monster. And I used it in my Reldevin campaign for real cool effect. So that was kind of awesome. So that's a forest that is an old kind of wood that has been around in the Great Kingdom, and then we have the big one, the Adri and the Grandwoods.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have
True.
yep. And for those with druidic bent and who adhere to the old faith, according to I think the Gord books, is Celadon is where the Grand Druid,
Grandeur.
yeah, he resides here somewhere in the center of the Celadon forest, which
Hmm.
is kind of interesting because you have the river is kind of a highway through the forest, and then they have this kind of spurned vale that is in the
Yeah, that's about that.
yeah. So that's the interesting. And but I guess the oldest and most talked about forest are the gnarly and the Welkwood and the Sus forest from old legends from the first campaigns and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the yep. So that was a quick kind of overview of some of the
Yeah, I was
cool
gonna say they're
forest.
all pretty
Yeah, that
ancient,
yeah,
and
and they're kind of cool. And then you have we have to mention the Frostwood that is kind of interesting with some self trees that glow in the dark and stuff that are kind of
that is
yeah.
very
And
unique.
then you have the more normal Netherwood at
Can't wait
the
to see
the
what
end.
Blake does with it.
Yep. So that's the kind of yeah. So those are and then you have the Fell Reeve and the Tangles and of course the Burnial up here. So yeah.
There,
Yep. I have to show my geographic mojo, knowing the names and know my way around here. So
yeah.
yeah. Yep, there are some people you are experts at all the history and the
I
name. I know my
almost
way
did.
around. So yeah.
I almost did a Greyhawkery article on the forests of Greyhawk.
Mhm.
I was starting to do the math on how many square miles all these forests were and
Yeah.
how big they would be compared to real world forests. And then somewhere along the line, I just kind of threw up my hands and said, screw it. And I like threw it all away. I
Uh oh.
deleted everything I had. I don't know why it just was like very mind numbing and boring, but
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out if like the Besby and the like the Burnial, if they are bigger or smaller than real world forests.
Yeah, the
with the
Vespa is really big. The Vespa
yeah,
is big as France or something like that, almost in size.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so it's a lot of the forests are bigger than California in size. So
But I
they're
think I did come to the realization that Earth's forests still are outmatched.
yeah, some of the biggest ones in yeah, like the taiga
Yeah,
in Siberia is
yeah.
bigger than anything in the Flannies. But
All
but
right.
also if you read the stories, like I think it was in Even Undying, the Granwood and the Adri and stuff were all combined. And I got the
That
sense
was
that
kind
back
of
in
where
the
I was
yeah,
going.
yeah.
Yeah,
And in the beginning, I think that all the way from Sus Forest through Welkwood and then up through Valluna up to Vesve was probably one big giant forest until humans and elves and started
yeah.
chopping them down in
Can
areas.
almost
Yeah.
reverse. Yeah, do a
Hmm.
reverse
Yeah.
roll.
So the Flannies had some huge forests. There was probably that western forest from Vesve all the way down to the Sus, and then you probably had the valley in Keoland was probably the Silinton was probably or sorry, the
Right.
Sheldamar
All
Valley
the little
had, yeah,
dotted.
had probably a lot of forest. The dim forest was probably a bunch of forest up and down that valley too. And then in the east you had the Grandwood Adri kind of huge forest area in the east there too. So yeah.
But the Borneo forest is pretty much the way it always was.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
so
That it's so
remote.
remote, so no one has chopped down trees up
The
there.
only
So yeah,
the only way that forest could be bigger is if you consider that the black ice
yeah,
mowed it down.
exactly. That probably take it from the north. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But now it's time to do some final shout outs and stuff before we end
All
this
right, Blake.
episode. Yeah, because Mini before Mini goes nuts here. So
Yep.
yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, it's been a bit kind of disparate episode when we babble about this left and right and east and west, but overall I think it's been in a great, and
Yeah,
we
we
had
talked
some
about
wonderful comments and stuff from chat again, so it's awesome.
it.
And Blake, we look forward to your articles like crazy. So, but now I need to plug again, saying that on Sunday at let's see, I make sure, yeah, Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern at Twitch TV. There we go from. That's TV Lord Gusumba, and I'm sorry there was I should have cleaned it up. That's a link from Facebook, so I should have linked, but it's Twitch TV Lord Gusumba. So
Cool.
on yep, so it's his channel, and then we will be back next week because next week is 1 week to Gen Con, so we will be back
Mm-hmm.
next week, and we haven't had a topic, but we have a couple of guests we're trying to get, so we'll see if we can
Come
maybe
on,
have a
somebody. I'm
chance.
running out of
Yeah, and we
breath.
always want you, Gary, on. So you need to come on. So yes, we want you
Just
on every
audio.
every week. So I'm just begging every week. We need you. We want you to be on the show. That will be absolutely awesome. So, and I will probably not have much time for do anything Greyhawkish next week, more than I will work on my presentation
Right.
for Gen Con. That will be my main thing to work on next week. I have a 2 hour mapping presentation. I'm not sure. We'll see if we can get that one recorded. So we'll hope and see if we can work on that to get it recorded. And but anyway, I will post all the stuff eventually on my website, all the image and write a blog post about it afterwards. So
Welcome to the show. Yes, you did just catch the end of it.
yes, yeah, but it will be on Twitch. Wait a few minutes and you will be able to see all of it, and it will end up on YouTube in like a week or so. So she will put it up.
Start
So
at
yeah.
7 p.m. Central.
Yes, or 8 p.m.
Say.
Eastern. So yep,
Yep.
on Wednesdays. Most Wednesday. We don't do every Wednesday, but we do seasons of like 10 episodes or so. So we will be a few more weeks, but it will be next week, and then we will have a week off for Gen Con, and then we will be back again with a Gen Con follow-up kind of thingy.
Ooh.
Yep. So thank you everyone, and Lowdown Fool. We're sorry that you came in a bit late, so you have to catch up. But come back next week for on 7 Central or 8 Eastern. So
Go
any
and download the latest Orc Journal, number 20,
exactly, go to Greyhawk Online and download the latest.
Greyhawk Online,
Yep. Mm-hmm. So
all one word.
Yep. So thank you everyone so much for all the awesome input and stuff. Oh, thank you, Lowdown Full. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Yep.
All
So
right.
and Lone Grand Involved. Yeah, it's awesome. And but it thanks to you in chat, you make
Thanks.
us want to come back and do this every week. It's kind of awesome. So
See
yeah.
you guys.
Yep. See you next week.